Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sledgehammers in the Office podcast, where we celebrate the heavy hitters on the job site and in the office. Today I'm joined by MasonOxendale. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing all right. And we have a special guest on the show, Mr. Larry Chavez from Chavez Painting. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We start each podcast with our guests with what's your previous work experience? What are you guys doing now? What does that look like? Kind of flesh it out for us. Like, we've got a relationship on the business side, but for the people that don't know, we'll go from there.
Yeah, might not have a very cool name like you, Thaddeus, but since I met you, I really got a good feeling for it, and just passion for construction and doing all that stuff. So thank you for having me. It means a lot. Like you said, my name is Larry Chavez. I'm the owner of Chavez Painting AZ, and we've been doing some work throughout the valley, exclusive out to Scottsdale, Cave Creek, and in the West Valley, Goodyear, and then some areas out in Anthem. So yeah, we're just all over the place, and we're just having fun running a business on my own for the first time, and I'm excited to see where the company goes and how much more growth we're going to have.
Yeah.
As a previous work experience, what I've had is I actually did not own my own business for so many years. I actually started law enforcement in 2008 as a detention officer for the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office here in the Valley. I served as a DO for 6 years, and then pursued my career as a police officer with the Gila River Police Department down in Indian Reservation, the Gila River Indian Community. Did 3 years there, and then I served with Avondale PD for the remainder of 7 years in law enforcement now. And then something inside me just told me it was time for me to leave law enforcement, and something that I thought that I was going to do for the rest of my career life. And then some events started happening, a couple of traumatic events that pretty much led me to say, hey, you know what, I'm kind of feeling like a force is pushing me out of this, and I needed to tap into something else. And initially, I actually, like you, Mason, I was going to start real estate as well. And I went on this boot camp thing for a bunch of law enforcement officers who left law enforcement with, I forgot what realty group it was. But I went to a boot camp for real estate agents, a bunch of cops and firefighters that are now very successful real estate agents and investors. And I was like, okay. So it was kind of like my first peek into entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And I saw the potential it had, and I was like, okay. I think I want to be an entrepreneur. And so I started researching a little bit more. I went and did the test for real estate, and I missed it by like 3 points. And so it's like, and then I had a honeymoon in 2 days. So it was like, all right, Larry, well, everything that was fresh in your mind, and you went on a honeymoon for like a week and a half, mm-hmm. There's just no way. So I just didn't pursue that. I finished off what was my career there. I buttoned things up with my previous agency, and then I actually was a painter by trade and grew up into it with my dad. My dad has owned his own painting business since I can remember. So he has over 35 plus years of painting experience and running his own business. And seeing his success really sparked the interest in me. It's like, hey, you know what? If my dad did it, I have all the resources available to me to start my own thing. And so I saw the success the other officers were having, not being officers, but being real estate agents, and then started learning about others that have their own business and in construction as well. And I thought to myself, yeah, I think I could do it. So I started asking my dad for equipment, borrowed equipment. Like, Dad, I got this little gig here, can I borrow your spray rig if you don't mind? Yes, son, of course. And what was really cool is that he actually bought a brand new rig just so I could use it. And thought he was going to give it to me, but he ended up not giving it to me. So I did a cabinet job. That was like first gig, a cabinet job. And that was like the most horrifying thing for me. I knew the step, I knew the process of what to do, but I never did it by myself, and having that project management aspect of painting cabinets. And I was like, I can do a wall and, maybe put some tape down, but like now you're asking me to do a cabinet job. And to do a cabinet job is very, 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 very crazy to do it. But anyway, so I ended up coming out successful. Did my first cabinet job. And then with borrowed equipment. And then sure enough, later on, I progressed into like, okay, the word got out there, and I guess I could touch about that stuff in a little bit, about how I kind of grew my influence around the community. However, that's how I started out. The business is just like, hey, it was an idea. I asked a friend to pretty much throw in a logo for me, give them, hey, this is kind of like what I want for my logo. This is the company name. Helped me establish some business cards and started advertising in social media, and pretty much now we've been running and operating, and so far it's going great. And I'm pretty blown away about the success that so far we're having, and I know that I get excited, but I know there's more out there, and I'm willing to explore those avenues.
How is it, was it weird, like almost starting a competitor company with your dad?
You know what? A lot of people said that, and my dad would joke too, because he would tell his customers, yeah, my son, he left law enforcement, and now he's going to be painting like me, whatever. He was very proud, and everybody said, well, now he's your competition, Robert. My dad's name's Robert. Mm-hmm. He said, nah, he's not no competition. So I was like, thanks, Dad. And so, yeah, like what I found out in as far as like competition wise, I feel like there's so much work out there in the valley, and there's great painters, and there's not so much great painters out there. But there's plenty of work, and that's what my dad pretty much expressed to me. He's like, there's plenty of work for all of us. And, he's been generous enough to kind of point me into some of his clientele and say, hey, I'm not available this week or this month, so because I'm busy. Mm-hmm. And so my son's available and his crew. That's nice. So that's really cool, because we get to pretty much borrow each other and pitch ideas, and sometimes I'll let them borrow my guys, if I want to break.
Yeah. I did have one follow-up question, was just based on it. What led you to the decision to start your own company versus like working with your dad and almost like opening up another part of his business?
Yeah, so what I wanted to establish was something of my own, where I made my own schedule, and I wanted to make my own money. And so that's what my dad, I know he wants to retire. He's actually a pastor.
Oh, okay.
And so I know he's kind of wanting to do his thing, and he's always talked about
what church is he a pastor at?
He's so it's called the Apostolic Church of Jesus Christ, and so it's a denominational church. It's Pentecostal, and so he's the head pastor there, and so he's focusing more on that. And so what's interesting is that he's told me pretty much, hey, once I retire, my clientele is yours. So I was like, let's see what it is. I've tried to buy him out a few times.
I was about to say,
he's not budging. He still wants his. He likes what he does. Actually, he'll go grab some tools and do the job sometimes. It's impressive to watch.
You just throw it out there, but let me buy it, and then I'll let you do some jobs.
Yeah,
part time.
Yeah, I told him, I'll give you a nice little cut, but he's just like, no, I want to work, doing stuff. That's just in Hispanic culture. It's just they want to work. My mom has no need of working. She's out there working every day, and my dad's told her to stop, and she just will not stop. She has her own business too, her cleaning business.
Oh, nice.
So, in all sense of everything, I can't put it together, but my parents are entrepreneurs, and it was in my face my entire childhood and growing up, and I just want to be a cop, and they're just a great example to follow. It's just they do their own hours. They leave everything, and they'll go to Mexico for a month or two, and just hang out there and just soak up life. And it's just impressive. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I'm like, why didn't I do it sooner? And I told myself that several times. Why didn't I pursue some sort of entrepreneurship on my own? Oh, and then back to follow up on what you asked me on my dad. Why didn't I pursue something with him? Is my dad has pretty much wanted us keep it at a certain level.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so his vision is just like, I'm comfortable where I'm at, and I'm very much so, let's be uncomfortable, because extraordinary things happen in the most uncomfortable situations, and I've been placed in them, and it has led me to open my eyes to some big things in life, and it's really cool, man, just knowing that you can hit a stump or you can hit something really hard, and it's okay, because there's something bigger coming.
The general contractor I'm with currently, when I was with him the first time, he had the same mindset. His goal was, I want 4 people in the company. I don't want it to be any bigger than that. He's like, we'll just do jobs and we'll ride it out there. And so I spent about 4 years away, and when I was coming, in some conversations in between on the way back, he had offered me a job, I think once or twice before, to come back with him. And I was like, well, are you trying to just stay small? What are you doing? He's like, no, I think now he's now starting to pursue that growth, and he's starting to see it inside of there. And I think it, for me as the employee side of it, that even, I feel like, changes the mindset when you're inside of something that says, okay, we're going to grow this thing to the max capacity, because the employees get to see there's a spot for me for growth. It's not just going to be the same thing every day. There's just that potential out there, and sometimes you don't even know what it is.
It's true.
It's true. All right, so let's start with, in some ways, what did it look like getting started? So you say, you've got people out there, I'm a painter, I'm a contractor, drywall, whatever it is. People will talk about, I don't know a contractor out there, so if they find out who you are, usually you're their guy.
Right.
But how has that growth been? What has that looked like on the customer growth from day one to where you are now?
Yeah, so at first it wasn't easy. It was just me, myself, and I. And so what I did is just promote it on social media, in my personal page. And what's really cool about the law enforcement community is that they're very knit tight. And so what happened would be that people would ask, hey, anybody knows a painter, and they was, yes, my friend Larry, he's starting his own company. And so that's pretty much how I got started, and painting some of those guys' houses too, some of those firefighters and police officers and then their parents. And then so it just word spread. And then I slowly would get a job here and there, basically 2-3 jobs maybe in a month, and which was okay for starting out. Sometimes a job for a week would be better than what I got paid as a cop in a month. Just be honest, especially just me being the only guy doing the work.
Right.
And so then I was like, okay, I need to get another guy, because I need some help because I'm getting estimates and I need somebody here. So got another guy, and he was actually a family member, and we started doing some jobs together. And slowly but surely, we started getting a little bit more and more clientele. So I'm like, I need another one. So I asked my dad, hey, do you know if anybody that needs some work? Let me know. Somebody that's good, you might recommend. So he recommended a team of guys that were working for him, and those guys are just amazing. They're just my powerhouses. You've met them. I use them for just about everything. All these projects, they've been loyal to me since. But what really, really made my company grow was I went to this entrepreneur conference. It's called MasonOxendale. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. They're big time, real estate, construction guys, roofing. And it was this conference that they host every year in Chandler. And they talked about how the way you market yourself is very important now, because social media is free, man. So if you really want to influence the community, you got to get on social media. And one thing that resonated with me was, you might not want to get on social media because you might think people feel stupid, but you're already stupid, so might as well do it.
Yeah.
So I remember them saying, these guys, they're called the Menace Boys, and they have their own podcast too, by the way. And I'm not by any chance promoting them at all. It's just these guys really have tapped into the social media realm so well that they're multimillionaires, and just being able to say, hey, Larry, you know what? You don't have all the tools yet to grow. You don't know everything. You're new to this. You're just a baby entrepreneur. You need to learn from other people, and just the old ways of passing business cards is just, it's non-existent. It's not going to work. They don't. All people see is just some little card with another painter. And so what I learned from that, and thanks to them, I learned to market myself and just posting stuff on social media. So I laugh at my first post after I left from the conference. I'm like, hey guys, I'm Larry the painter. And so I was all excited to do it. And I was very private before in my social media because I was a cop. So I didn't want anybody seeing my home address or anything, or exposing myself out there to the public. But now it's just like, hey, got to get the veil down, just promote, put social media out there. sure enough, my wife has been one of my strongest my right hand man, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's great at that stuff, following the trends and just promoting me out there, sending out thank you cards. Even for me just to go bid, like if I were to go to your house and I bid at your project and you're still undecisive, or even, we're still waiting. I'm not pushing you to, want to pursue our company for your painting project, but you would get a thank you card. Hey, thank you for giving me the opportunity and your time. And so those are things that have helped me in my business to achieve that growth. And I've gotten maybe 3 out of 5, I'll say, that they said, Larry, none of the painters that came and bid my project gave me a business card or a thank you card. It really motivated me, and it looks like you care about it. And that's really, I'm not saying these other guys don't care. It's just that I've learned some ideas along the way that have pretty much influenced customers to want to do business with me and have that wonderful experience through our company. So
one of the things we talk about a lot is that the trades, like, I love the trades, I love the guys in the trades, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of knuckle draggers in the trades. And you get guys who are good enough to go out there, create an LLC, get licensed, all that good stuff. But the old ways of, it's a neighbor tells a neighbor, friend tells a friend, and that's the extent of it. So, like we talk about quite a bit, there's this huge void inside of the trades in regards to no one's marketing, because usually the people who have work, there's people clamoring for them to keep coming back. But especially on the way up, if you have that, hey, we're trying to grow aggressively, it's to be on social media. You're seeing, I'd say, almost like the new wave of contractors starting to adopt it. Real estate, you saw it with, it's so cutthroat with so many agents that everyone's on it. So it was interesting for me flipping to going to the real estate side, seeing, all right, this is where, like, everyone's doing the same thing. You go back to the construction side and all of a sudden it's like, no one's doing this. So I saw, like, the way that I found you was through Instagram for our projects.
Exactly.
And it helped a lot as far as I got to see, like, all right, we're trying to do high finish projects. What does this guy do? Because there's plenty of people out there who can fog a mirror and say, I'm a painter, I'm a this, I'm a that, whatever. But it's like, what does that actually look like at the end of the day? The thing that I think, though, people probably in my age bracket, the 20s and younger, we get super excited about, you can do everything through social media, that we forget about that personal touch, where it's the thank you card, right? It's that old school thing that when it doesn't matter, you get that written thing in your hand. If there's one of the things I've done is I'll send crumble cookies to a customer after I did a consultation with them.
That's awesome.
And you get that text from them going, this is different. And it's that same thing, because you created more than just I'm the social media guy. It's, I'm now your friend.
Yes. That's exactly what you're going to do, is just tapping into people's emotions and being able to say, hey, you know what? I'm not just here to paint your house. I'm here to be your guy, you know? Like, I've hung out with a bunch of my clients, after work or something. Hey, Larry, I'm at this bar. You want to come hang out? Yeah, sure. I'll come over. So we'll go have a beer or something, or, it's just, hey, my family's having a barbecue. Would you mind coming by? Yes, thank you so much. And, we'll go out there and do that. And it's really cool. That personal touch is very important, I think, in all of it. And back to social media, it just builds your credibility.
Yep.
It's all about credibility. Hey, are you the right guy for us or not? And so that's what we're trying to do is with my business, is just trying to build that credibility and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to drop $10,000 on this painter, but I don't know if he's good enough, hey, well, just, check out our Instagram. It's crazy because on my business cards, there's a QR code for our Instagram. And I go to the paint store, I drop it there, and I tell the reps or the salespeople, hey, listen, if you guys get any clients that want to paint their house and looking for a contractor, have them scan the QR code. None of their business cards. I'm the only one, and I can't find.
That's what I'm saying.
They don't have a QR code, and it's so simple. You go on QRcode.com and it generates it for you, and it's literally, here you go, graphic designer. Can you create a business card with this QR code? Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Instagram creates it for you too.
One of the other things we talked about in a different episode was, I think I made the comment, if you don't have a website, you don't exist a lot of times to new customers. You guys have that website as well, and I feel like I'm just doing a sales pitch for your company right now. But
I appreciate it, man. Make sure to give you a cut later. Just kidding.
One of the things that I loved about the website is you go on there and there's the schedule integration that if someone wants to have, like if Mason wants to have you out to his house, he can choose the date and time that you come out there. And it's just one of those small steps that it's like, usually it's that paper card or you get someone's phone number and it's like, there's those guys where you get on the phone and it's like, hello, okay, we'll be there. Like, and that's legit.
Or they don't answer.
That too. I've got drywaller
Yeah.
like that right now. Anyways,
I got a good drywaller if you need one.
we're gonna talk after it. I've got a funny story for you. But yeah, it's that next step. Like I said, I think you're embodying the new generation in terms of what the trades is going to look like, because the trades have been the same thing, steady as far as tried and true ways. But now it's when you start treating it like this is a business. This isn't just okay, I need to go get paid at the end of the week. That's
Right.
when things get special. Which, speaking about that, we've talked about the growth that you've had just from the start to now as far as the guys that you're working with. I know about some of the projects that you've got going on, whether it's up in Cave Creek, Scottsdale, stuff like that. But that has changed from you being the sole guy, and just like most businesses, it's then you go into sales, you're doing the paperwork. So how do you allocate your time? Because there's also the aspect of you have to be the guy who's like superintendent for your paint projects as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's been a hard process for me, and as somebody that started off on their own and doing the me, myself, and I concept, when that conference I learned, you can't just say, hey, I'm a business owner. You can't own your job. You got to own your business, right? And so one of those things is that I learned is, you got to get off the tools, man. You got to get off the tools. And that's my constant battle with myself, because I want to get in there and get dirty and start spraying stuff. But then I told myself, you know what, let's go ahead and manage these projects where you get the right people. Like you said, that the guy that pretty much said, hey, get the right people for the right job, right? And well, here's the thing is, you have to be able to trust these guys, whether it's, one guy or the whole team. You got to trust your team and be able to be confident enough to say to your client, hey, I might be here in the morning, but I'm going to go ahead and bounce out like in a couple hours because I have estimates to do, or I have my books to do, or whatever it is that I need to do to operate my business. And I asked them, hey, are you okay with that? 9 times out of 10, they're 100. I want to say I'm pretty confident, 9.8 times, just because there's that little slight for me. I want to be there, you know, and it's really nice that I've transitioned now to where, all right, I got to trust my guys. That's how I'm able to, pretty much allocate my time in the right areas. Because if I don't go look and chase that job that's, another 30 minutes away from my job site, even an hour, I've driven an hour, go try to bid that job, I might not have work the next week for everybody, you know. And what these guys are relying on me is to make sure that every week I tell them, hey, there's this new address, this is the start time, show up at, with whatever equipment you need. And so that's one of the things I've implemented in my strategy is that, hey guys, I might not be here, however, I do trust you guys to do the right thing. This is the task for the day. I expect this. And at the end of the day, these guys just show me, hey, sometimes I can't finish everything. I totally understand. Just show me that you did whatever you did it with 100% the standards of the company, and then we're good to go. And so that's the understanding they have. I don't know if I missed anything that you asked me on.
No, I'd say like maybe percentages on there, but as far as like how you split your time, and I know that depends.
I want to say right now, like I pretty much I'm about 50% off from the work site right now. I haven't gotten to like 80%, but we're working on it. It's just I'm still a small business and still trying to to grow it.
That's the next hurdle in scale.
Yeah, and like all this stuff that we've been talking about. I mean, I'm by no means any expert on running a business. So the other part is the accounting. Like you got to hire the right people for accounting and make sure your books are good. And there was a few months there that I wasn't charging I was like, I get the bid and there's no percentage for taxing. I'm like, I don't know what to tax. Do I tax the labor? Do I not tax the paint? I know I can't tax the paint because I already paid taxes for that. So it was one of those things that if you're a new entrepreneur and starting your own business, it's little things that you're going to want to really refine. And after I left law enforcement, I didn't immediately start my painting business. I went to this corporate job and I was sitting behind a desk and just mindless. Like I would do everything I needed to do. I took care of business. And then for the next 6 hours, I was like, okay, what else do I do? And it was in downtown Phoenix. But I got a lot of experience from like the CEO of the company. And when I left, I asked her, hey, you got any advice? And she's like, yeah. And about accounting. It was about accounting. She's like, don't do any shoebox accounting because when you go to try to go in and get any business loans or anything like that, there's the first thing they're going to ask you is, hey, can I look at your books? You know, you need to document everything really well and get yourself a good accounting system and make sure that everything is generated very clear and transparent, and you're going to be 100% okay. So ever since she told me that, I slowly got into it, and like it was very slow. I was like, no, let's go get this job. Let's go paint this house. And then the books started getting like behind by a lot. Yeah. And so these are mistakes I've made, you know, as a new entrepreneur. And so a new business owner, I'm sorry. And so I had to like, you know, like pursue some QuickBooks stuff, and they helped me out. We sorted all that. So it was a great tool. At one point I do want to hire an accountant. I just have for me, you know, and it just, but yeah, one of the advices is like, I fell on my face with that, and I'm learning still. Now we're good to go, and we're making traction.
It's all those systems that you put in place one by one.
Yep.
Before we dive a little deeper into the business part of it, I do have more of like, because you know, you guys are in the trades and I'm more on the consumer side, is that in the past when, you know, you go out there to bid on a job or whatever, essentially me as a consumer, I'm choosing you specifically because you came into the bid. Like I want you to do it. But when you start getting bigger, you know, you're not necessarily the one doing the painting. So like, do you have, like you talked earlier about your standards, or do you have a process, a specific process or way that you want your painters to do it, like how you do it? So like the people who choose you to do your job, like how do they know they're going to get your painting skills but from other people?
Right. And I talk about this when I go talk to a potential client. Every time I say this to them is like, at the end of the project, the one promise I do have is that I always look at it, I want to put my stamp on it. I want to make sure that when we're done with this project, you're 100% satisfied. So I have programmed my guys on the ways that I was taught to trade and the ways that I've conducted it to have that high quality standards, you know, that they deserve. Because you as a consumer paying a high ticket price, you're going to expect a high ticket, you know, quality, you know, presentation at the end. So for me, in the beginning when I got these guys, I started making sure that these guys knew how I wanted things done. And I told them, hey, listen, you might have had a certain way how you did things in this other company or wherever you were at or doing it on your own, but this is how I want it, and this is the expectation I want, you know. And then also in asking the right questions, because again, I was a police officer. I arrested people and I took their livelihood because, you know, they were doing bad things, and I knew the law left and right and what I can arrest somebody and make those split-second decisions. Say, you know what, you've done 5 things that are already like 3 felonies and 2 misdemeanors, you know. But there were some things that I ran into that I was like, whoa, I don't know what kind of primer to use on this. You know, it's like, hey, start asking those questions. So, you know, one of those things that I started like relying on my resources, asking my dad, asking a mentor that was my dad's mentor, who's turned into my biggest mentor yet. And we've done some great business together. And so getting with my representatives from the stores, hey, what kind of primer? So not just primer, but a slew of things. So I make sure that I tell the guys, hey, this is how it's going to be done. This is the process I want. And that's why we take it step by step. Make sure that none of the process is skipped throughout the way in order to deliver that Chavez Painting AZ stamp at the end.
Gotcha. Yeah, so people, so if you have a cabinet job, your guys know that this is the primer, you know, anything you have to do, this is the step, this is what we use and how we do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not big enough where I disconnect 100%. Like I said, I'm like 50% there. So in the beginning, I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and start cleaning these cabinets and let's degrease them, you know, because that's the first thing you got to do. So here's the stuff. Make sure that I'm watching these guys do it, and that's they hold each other accountable, and they start doing that. And then, all right, we're going to go ahead and apply primer, you know. we get it started. We do a primer or whatever it is that we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, make sure we sand, and then I go and make sure and inspect everything and have that quality control. And, you know, I rely on either one of the guys that have more experience and say, hey, you know, this is how I want it. Can you make sure it gets there? And, you know, and then I tell the rest of the guys, I want you guys to follow his lead, because he's going to be in charge here as a field supervisor, assuring that the project gets done to the standards that I've asked. And so I just delegate, you know, obviously that's all delegation. So these guys respect it, and I appreciate them. And one thing I tell these guys is, we would not be here if this client didn't want this project done. So you're not working for me, for Chavez Painting, you're working for them.
Mm-hmm.
So they are the ones paying your salary this week. It's not me. Yeah, you're getting a check from me. I'm just a vessel here. Like,
Yeah.
thank you, you know, for paying, you know, payment, but here it is. So every time you do everything, make sure you do it like, hey, you know, let's impress this person, because at the end of the day, that person's going to refer us. And I make sure I have these conversations with these guys every week. You know, we have our meetings, and I tell them, hey, listen, whatever impression you give here on this job site is going to reflect, you know, a month down the line when we don't have a job, because that person they weren't happy enough to refer us anywhere.
Yeah.
And so they laugh and joke and stuff, but it's true. You know, we have to be able to deliver, you know, be nice, be very professional throughout the thing with builders, you know, and make sure that they know that there's eyes watching them constantly. And that's a part of my concept with my company, is having that integrity. Make sure we deliver that quality service.
I think it's also too leaving that room inside of the bid to do it correctly, because there's guys, as far as I remember calling you, and I was about a lady who was saying she wanted to renovate her condo to flip it, and I told you about the numbers that she was asking for, and you laughed at me. You're like, she's out of her mind. And the reason why is because you get people who will go in and they might just spray, like what I call a piss coat all over, where it's just the finest mist to get it to change to maybe a new white. But it's like, is that going to be a lasting color? And it's like, but if you pay your guys and you're charging on such a small margin, it's like you can't take the time to do all the things appropriately. And so that makes it where it's just like in any business, you need to tell the story of, why am I am I a contractor and this is a contractor, and what's the difference between us? What am I going to do and fulfill? And did they explain that to you? Because sometimes it's even just that storytelling of, I'm gonna do A, B, and C. This person's gonna say, here's my price. They might do A, B, and C, but you're never gonna know. And then it's, like I said, leaving that room inside of the bid to be able to say, can we take the time to make sure we do this correctly, and just repeat on and on and on after that on the next jobs.
Compromising your numbers when you give an estimate compromises your quality, because then you're rushing your guys to finish a day like sooner, when you should have bidded for that extra day so that you can take your time and do it. So that's one of the things that I made a mistake once. I was low on work and I bidded a job for like $1,900, and it was like, all right, and for me to make $600 on this one for 2 days, so that's $300 a day, I need to make sure these guys, do it in 2 days. And so, yeah, the guys were rushed, and sure enough, there were some mistakes they made. And, I didn't expect them to do it, but it was nothing that we couldn't fix. So yeah. I had to go on a third day and go fix it myself. Why? Because I underbid it. And, after that, I was like, you know what? I am not going to say, hey, I know Joe Schmo can do it for so much. I could do it. So and then my dad told me that before, like when I started my business, he's like, never go down on your price. Just leave it as is. If they believe in you that you're going to do a good job, they're going to pay it. And so that's one of the things I learned, and I had to learn it on my own. It was like, sometimes, as a son, you're like, yeah, dad, whatever, I'll figure it out. But yeah.
Well, it gets hard when you get hungry too, right?
Yeah.
It's like one thing where you can look at someone who's like, hey, yeah, it makes sense. You've got X amount of dollars rolling in every month, and it seems like a machine. And when you're at the beginning, it's like, I'm starving out here. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, because that $1,900 job would have been perfectly fine for me if I was
I was
by
about to
myself.
say, it's different when you're by
Yeah.
yourself. You can take it,
Yeah, you
bid a
can take
little
a hit,
lower.
yeah. Yeah. So now I just don't do that. Like I recently had a job that I know the wife had found me on Instagram, and she's like, man, I want that guy. He knows what he's doing, and told the husband. The husband told me what she said. And they're like, I heard you do a great job. I've heard it on the Verado, community page on Facebook. I'm like, yeah, we work a lot here in Verado, and we've done a lot of work, and people love it. And so I give them the bid, and some other painter bid it $2,600 under what I wanted to, and I had bid it already at my best price I could because again we were running a little low that week on work. And and he's like, you come any closer? I was like, no, that I can't. Not even $800.
Was that tough to say?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna compromise it, And
Yeah.
so, you know what? And one of those things is that I still believe in God, and God puts the right people in front of you. So if there's no work that week or something like that, it's just sometimes God just comes through, man, and I believe in that. And in jobs that pretty much would make up for those 2-3 jobs that I didn't get because
Yeah.
people bid it lower. And we're talking like jobs up in, I don't want to brag, but I mean, I think when God blesses you, you have to brag, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So,
So you gotta,
you're
yeah.
getting like $20,000 jobs, it's just like, heh, that was not meant to be. That was just a waste of my time.
Yeah.
And the creative hands that he gave us to, paint these expensive multi-million-dollar homes,
Mhm.
So it's just like one of those things, like you have to have faith as a business owner, man, because sometimes you're scraping the barrel, but then boom, big man just comes and just blesses you
Yeah.
and your guys,
Yeah, but Dad told a story a couple weeks ago or a month ago in the past about how some guy like outbid you for a job but didn't do it properly, and she ended up calling you back to finish what he couldn't finish because he was trying to charge her more money, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They were trying to put in a bifold door, and she got a price, and I was like, hey, honestly, my price is going to be the same, and if they've got a little bit more flexibility on schedule, like, she was a friend of mine that I had known, so I was just more like, hey, if they can do it and they can fulfill the timeline better, absolutely go with them. They were a licensed company. The whole thing ended up falling to shambles where the people didn't call her back anymore. They weren't giving her updates on what was happening. So like she had to then call me back and go, hey, the door company was able to hook me up with another installer, but can you come out and they need it demoed? I'm like, all right, yeah, we'll be there. So we demoed it. And then I followed up with her a couple weeks later, and she was having some other issues with the installers. So it was just one of those things where you're just like, oh, not everyone is the same inside of the business. Going back to that, it's but
No. Yeah, I've gotten pictures of people like paint just peeling off the walls or the cabinets because guess what? Homeboy didn't do the proper procedure to begin with, and now you're having to pay more to fix stuff. Perfect example. I had a client. She had black doors. The guy must have sprayed them and then passed a winnie roller and didn't get some areas. And so we were out there like fixing these doors, and it cost her way more to fix them than it was. I told her, you should have just hired me and you would have saved a lot of money and it would have came out great. And she's like, I know. So it took almost 4 days. It was like 18 doors, and we had to sand them real down, dude. They're black, so
yeah.
And so even some imperfections, I was like, oh my god, that's Bondo. Just trying to fix them, and they can end up coming out really good. But that's just an example. When you want a cheaper painter or a cheaper, construction guy or woodworker, you get cheaper results, And so that's why the word cheap. I was like, well, this guy, it pisses me off, honestly. Maybe that guy could do it cheaper. I'm like, okay, have fun with that. Call me back when you need me to fix it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, don't even call me. Like, it sounds like I'm an asshole, but it's just like one of those things. I say it nicer, but it's just like, hey, some things to watch out for. And I usually give them that, that warning, forewarning. If they're compromising the price by that much, that means that your painting is probably 50% paint.
Yeah.
50%
What step
water,
are they leaving out? Yeah.
And there's probably going to compromise some steps. So I understand. And so, there's other tools. If you want to afford a painter, I have them.
I look at it like there's levels inside the trades, right? You've got the guys who are charging the bare minimum. You've got guys who you're going to have the middle and however many levels you want to ascribe to it. And then you've got luxury at the very top, right? The guys who are doing luxury, they're going to be doing some of the most ridiculous finishes, which we'll talk about a little later. But it's being able to also understand what level am I playing at, and then not compromising on that, in which the price is going to be one of those things. As far as it's like, if someone's looking for that dirt cheap, it's like dirt cheap comes with dirt cheap results. So that if I'm here to do, even if it's just you do a lot of exterior houses, it's for people in all over the Greater Phoenix area, like you said, and it's not that it has to be the most expensive paint. We're going to spend, like, I'm going to grab an artist brush and like Michelangelo paint your house but it's like there's best practices to go through. And like we said, but that puts you in a category. So when people are starting to ask, I want this price right here, it's like, we're not in the same category. So I either need to tell you why you need to upgrade your expectations, or it's just, I'm sorry, we're not a good fit.
Right. Exactly. You know, and what's great about some of the customers out there that I've been able to be a part of their lives right now is that they hire me and they're like, Larry, I want you to use the best stuff. You know, even if I have to pay more, I don't want to paint my house in 10 years. I'm like, but I want to paint it in 4 years. But no. I just, like, it's one of those things is they have the means, like, they'll pay for it, you know, and you know, I've had those experiences where, again, they want a cheaper price, and then I show them, like, look, this is an example of a home that was painted in this product. We can paint in that product, but you're going to call me back in 4 years, you know, or in 6 years, you know, whatever.
Do we want to take a second to almost nerd out on some of those things, as far as, like, let's step into the painting stuff. What are some misconceptions people have, or when you're meeting with someone to say, hey, it's the 4 years versus 10 years product. What does the process look like? Does it come down to products, process, combination of both? And how do you communicate that to the customer in regards of what they're going to be expecting from you guys?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I think out there is a lot of painters want to make a good profit, right? Everybody's in business, and when we want to have a successful business, you have to have some profit, you know, margins, right? And so they'll charge about the same price sometimes, and they'll buy the cheap paint just to make a little bit more, you know, profit margins. However, the way I explain to my clients is, like, there's no way I'm going to put my stamp on it and say, you know what, yeah, you paid me the same price as that guy, but I use this crappy paint. No, I'm going to use the good stuff. You know, we're going to go to a Dunn Edwards. We're going to go to a Sherwin-Williams.
What's the differences in the paint?
I just bought paint from, like, Home Depot to paint a bathroom.
You might need to return it.
But it's like they ask you, like, you know, you can buy, like, it's like 4 different versions, and they're significantly expensive, and it's like, well, I don't, like, how big of a deal is the quality? Does it depend on what you're doing, obviously, probably too.
Yeah, and so it all comes to pigments, right?
Okay.
How much paint pigments you wanted versus water ratio. So what I explained, even if you go to a Dunn Edwards or Sherwin-Williams, if you go get the cheaper products, you're going to get cheaper results. So you gotta. It's a lot of painters sell it that way. It's like, I use Sherwin-Williams. But what kind of Sherwin-Williams product do you use, buddy? You know, it's just like, I recently just started using a lot more Sherwin-Williams because there's some of the stuff is just badass, you know. Dunn Edwards have taken care of me for a long time, but Sherwin-Williams has some products out there, and shout out to my rep, Victor. He's been giving me some good pricing on it. Why? Because I want to deliver quality. So hey, you know what? Something that scared me was the prices at Sherwin-Williams. That's why I was like, yeah, I'm not even going there. I'm just going to go get the best product from Dunn Edwards. But now I've learned is there's so many products out there, like you said. So you go to a contractor grade, you're going to get more water in your paint, right? They're going to make that. If you go to more of your, like, let's say Super Paint, Cashmere, Emerald, and all those guys, you're going to get that quality.
So more pigment.
More pigmentation in it. And I'm not trying to promote Sherwin-Williams here, but we use a paint that was it's called Rain Refresh, and dude, you can't even stick tape to it. I was so pissed off because it was that good. And why was I pissed? Because when we wanted to paint the other color, right, we sprayed the pop outs. We couldn't tape the dang pop outs, and we had the reps there. 3M got involved. Like, it was a whole big deal. But Sherwin-Williams came through, and they came out and wanted to evaluate. hey, what's going on with our product? And yeah, man, so we ended up having to hand brush some of that stuff because old school was like, I told the guys, like, hey, listen, it is what it is. Like,
But
there's not even duct tape stuck to it.
Did you say that was because it was a higher quality paint?
High quality rain refresh, so it's designed to basically deflect any like monsoon stuff, any like if you're in the snow country, any type of like weather elements, it bounces literally off of it.
That's insane.
It's some crazy shit.
It's like those Docker pants, the spill ones.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so like when we talk about like pricing and stuff like that, that paint was expensive, man. I spent about $2,000 just on paint. I mean, a 5 bucket of that did last me longer, but still I spent a lot of money. Sherwin-Williams came through and they actually like ended up giving me some free stuff of that stuff, and so like it helped me out. If not, I would have paid like $2,500.
Yeah.
So again, you know, like an exterior project that you could bid for potentially $5,000. Well, now you have to account for the paint. It's $2,500 for the paint, so now you're bidding, you know, $7,500. You know,
Yep.
opposed to that 5. And so, but that guy can do it for 3. You know, yeah, but he's not using this paint, and he's not going to take the time to do it right. You know, so yeah, there's a difference in products, and then. So, and that's the thing when you go out in there and bid, you got to be able to be a good sales rep. You know, it's like, hey, listen, you got to know the ins and outs of the products. So that's why I told Sherwin-Williams when they took me out to lunch, because they wanted to earn my business, is like, hey, listen, I need to learn and educate myself on your stuff, because when I go bid, I know Dunn Edwards products left and right. You know, I grew up on those. That's what my dad knows, you know. And so I would say, hey, you know, this product is good, this one's better, and this is amazing. You know, which one do you want? What's your, you know, budget? You know, and so that would be fine. Or no, I want the best. You know,
what does more pigment and paint do?
So basically, like there's more paint additives on there, and I wish I had my rep here to tell you that. But there's just more paint in they're used when they make that paint. It has less, you know, water in it, so you get more paint, more latex, right? More acrylic. And so now your paint it bonds better to your surface.
And you're probably doing less coats.
Yeah, less coats too. I mean, you always do 2 coats, but it's gonna last you longer. And when the sun's beating, let's say for an exterior, you're gonna want those sheens of protection. So when you have more latex acrylic on there, 100%, you want the sun to beat that down until it gets to, you know, starts getting faded. It's gonna happen. And I tell my clients, it's not gonna last forever. Or you can go get Rhino. Rhino is like $30,000 and they'll paint your house and it'll last you forever.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
So people fall for it. Like they're like, yeah, we want it. We were interested. And they quoted me this, and so I give them my number, and they're like, yeah, we'll go with you. I was like, yeah, we're using paint, but we're gonna use this product, and it was crazy. Like the concept or the philosophy I give my clients is like, do you want a $3 car wash, or do you want an auto detail? Like we're gonna like clean your leather seats and condition them and make sure that we get all the dust off. Because that's what you're going to get with me. You're going to get your home washed. We're going to prep all your surfaces. We're going to actually take off all the old paint off the frames of the window frames, because a lot of painters don't tape right. It happens sometimes, you know, even with the best, you know, sometimes it might break. So we'll clean the inside of it, you know, and we'll make sure we make our own lines, you know. We try to, like, if the ceilings have old paint from, you know, like a previous DIYer or something, you know, we'll try to match that ceiling paint, go get a little quart, you know, fix it up so that way we have our new perfect lines, you know. And so those are the things I tell my clients. It's like, you want $3 car wash? You know, somebody just a piss spray, or whatever, what you call it?
A piss coat.
A piss coat, or you want, you know, us to like really spread the paint out and use the right products. You know, brand new roller, you know, it's just one of those things, like you got to have good tools too.
Exactly.
You know, you can't use the same roller you used like 8 times before, you know, that, you know, maybe has a little, like, it's crazy. Like, I know you're in real estate, but there's a lot of things, if you don't clean your tools too, like, you can really mess up the job, you know, because you have crappy tools and you're not cleaning your spray equipment and all that stuff. And so actually we were just in a job in Scottsdale for youth, that is. And I come to find out when the machines, you know, broke down, it was because one of my guys didn't clean out the filter on it, and so that little filter cost me $200, you know, and that little filter cost $3 at the store, you know. And it was one of those things, like we're learning how to work with each other. It's like, hey, I can't be on top of them for everything, you know. It's like, hey, reminder, man, like we gotta clean thing, you know, that he says. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry. But anyway, so those are just a little sidetrack. But yeah, again, $3 car wash you want to pay $180 to detail your car, and you get the nice tiny, you know, shiny tires on there.
This is I have another selfish question for myself. So I get the quality for exterior just because the sun, the elements, and stuff like that. But you get people, you know, for like just a all basic wall. Like, why would somebody want to get a little bit better quality paint than just doing like the cheapest one they get at Home Depot?
So sometimes like you'll pick out a color and say, hey, you know what, I want this color. And since it has a little bit more water, it comes out a little more purple.
I never
comes
even
out
thought about
blue.
that.
Or, you know,
Okay.
and then it's also like when you go to scrub it, down, like let's say your kid had some hot Cheetos or something and they put their hot Cheeto hands on there. Guess what? You're scrubbing down, and now you're scrubbing down that paint. And so if you don't have a good durable paint, you won't be able to scrub that off. So that's one example of it. Yeah. And then for coverage too. So if you don't have more pigmentation on there for that coverage, like a dark color, a nice UV base, yeah, you're not going to get it covered in like 2 coats. You're going to have to do 3 coats or, you know,
or
more.
10.
That makes
So,
sense.
or
Yeah.
10. So you're going to want to get some good paint. Again, like
we
I
have
like
a story about that.
I like investing in like good products. You know, even if I have to pay a little bit more, sometimes that gets resolved with not having to take extra time to use the cheaper stuff or whatever, you know, whatever. So that's what I learned too, is like, hey, you might pay more, but it's going to save you X amount of time. And then we're doing really good, you know, on the profits. So
yeah, and the ones that are more water, they probably drip easier too, huh?
they do. So like if you spray a door with a product that's lesser grade, man, they do not level out like right away. You have to either spray and wait for a while until you spray the second coat, because then you're going to get drip marks. And then with that, you're going to have to get a weenie roller and try to fix it. And then we're going to have that thing that happened to that guy where I had to fix his stuff.
Yeah.
So again, like get the right shit and you're going to be fine.
Yeah, my previous house was, I'm pretty sure somebody like lived in it and fixed it up. But it was like somebody who just did it for a side job or something. And there were so many drips everywhere. It was just little things like that I didn't notice when we bought the house. And as I was doing stuff myself, I'm like, dude, this was like a shitty job. And with all that kind of stuff, it just makes you almost have to redo everything.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
Yeah.
One thing is like that scares me is like, guys, if we don't use the right product too, like you got these expensive homes, like that might be a $800 door that you just ruined by not using the good products, you know, like if they don't know, it's like, hey, well, here's this, you know, contractor grade, go ahead and paint it, buddy. Well, you know, hey, guess what? It dripped out, you know, like we didn't put a fan on it or whatever it may be, you know. Well, that's my fault as a business owner, you know, I didn't give them the right tools, right? So for me, it's like, again, back to the estimating and bidding these jobs is like, hey, listen, I want to use the best product. So if you're okay with that, this is what I want to use and this is why. And there was a client recently, I know he's well off and he was going to get some custom woodwork done. And I recently ran into this really cool product from it's brand new product from Sherwin-Williams called Gallery. And I'm like, hey, listen, I've used this product on 2 projects and I would love to use it on your trim work. It's a little bit more expensive, but you're going to love it. It's just sharp. And it's like factory finish. Like if you got it powder coated, man, that Gallery is just immaculate. And you're like, yeah, you know, and then he tried to I'm like, listen, we can go to another one that's great. That's good, but this one's great. And so I convinced him to do it because I know he wants good standards. And I was like, listen, if you can afford it, then great. I'm like, but I recommend this. I know you like good stuff. I'm like, I saw your car in your house. Do you want to go shop, you know, at Walmart for your clothes, or you want to go shop at in Dior or you know, Gucci, you know, because that's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you some Gucci paint. It's like, bet. And so he went for it.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, so that's another thing I learned as a business owner. It's like, I got to be a salesman? Really? Because in the beginning, I was like, yeah, you know, this is the price. You go, let me know. Take your time. You know, I look forward to it. But no, I learned very quickly, like I was giving these estimates. I'm like, no, I have to do something. So I was like, I'm a salesman. I'm not a painter. I'm a salesman. And so I started, you know, like, hey, listen, this is why this is good. And so I started reprogramming my mind to like, Larry, get out of the concept that you are a ex-cop or that you're, you know, this painter guy, you know, and here's a bid, here's a number, you know. No, you have to like really tell people why this stuff is good, you know, and it they need to know to make a very like conscious decision. Yes, I like him and I like what he has to deliver or to offer. I'm sorry. And so that's the thing that I learned too as well.
Have you ever turned down a job because they were like, "Hey, this is the paint. I just want you to paint it."
I've turned it down.
And you know it's not the right paint.
Yeah. So yes, I had a job where I gave him the bid with all the paint and everything, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, I have paint." I'm like, I have an $8,000 sprayer, and I would not like to use that paint because that paint that has more. There's a lot of other stuff, analogies that they use to describe it, but the aluminum that's in that paint ruins the packings inside the machine.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, I only use Dunn Edwards or Sherwin-Williams or even Benjamin Moore paint. I'm like, these are the only paints I'll run through my rig. And he's like, well, I'll get you, you know, whatever. I'm like, I have some left over. And so, yeah, I turned it down. I'm like, listen, you know what? I think it's best if you just look elsewhere. I'm sure you'll find another painter. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I care about my equipment, and this is what my livelihood, you know, this provides my livelihood, and I would hate for my machines to, you know, go inoperable because I use some old paint that I don't know how long it's been sitting there. Like, okay, we understand. And then I had another guy, he's like, well, I have a contractor friend who's a licensed contractor, a painter. He can give me some paint, you know, from the store, like, cheaper. And I was like, okay. I'm like, that's fine. You know, it was a big custom home. And I was like, yeah, you know, like, if you want to save some costs on paint, we'll just deduct that from your you know, your thing. I never overcharge on paint. Like, even in my contract, some people do. I even I'm very transparent with those numbers. I'm like, look, this is my pricing. This is what I get it for. This is how much. I'm like, go ahead. So they go, and sure enough, you know, it was like $10 more or $20 more. And they're like, Larry, this is how much I'm paying for paint with him. I'm like, well, it was going to be this much with me. And so you want to save money? And they're like, yep. So they turned it around. That was a good story, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I value with my pricing is like, you make sure you always are very honest and transparent with them. But yeah, I've turned down several people because they want to use some cheap stuff, and I'm like, nope, that's not going to be to my standards as a company. The Chavez Painting AZ stand, we gotta make sure we use the good stuff, right?
What about on the contractor side?
On the contractor side, as far as
the people that you say, okay, I'll work with them. I don't want to work with this contractor because same thing on the GC side. You've got some GCs that are like, let's do it this way. Other GCs who are like, talk to me as far as what do I need to know in regards to this project right here.
You know what? So all the GCs I've had, so far I've worked with 5, and your guys are one of them. I had one that was pretty new at the build side. They did a lot of stuff backwards, and so I had a bad experience with that. And you know what? I actually did not get pissed off. I didn't let my emotions get to me because I learned so much from the mistakes from that I transitioned into when I'm with a new builder or anything like that. I tell them, hey, listen, let me do my job at this step. Do not let any other trades come in. Please give me this week. And that's all I'm asking for. Because when we start bringing in other trades, I'm like, now we're going to have to build more, you know. And so I learned so much from that because it was, again, I felt like that baby business owner that just started, business painter, right? That started with those cabinets, right? Back in the day. And then that's how I felt with them, you know. It's like I reminded myself, you know what, let's keep everything on schedule because we're going to end up having to have your clients pay more money, or, you know, I'm going to end up like on negatives here. So I learned a lot from that. They were great. We sorted and hashed some stuff out, but again, drywallers, man. I don't know, painters and drywallers, you just can't get along. And so, yeah, I had a lot of issues with the drywallers. The drywall was sagging from the ceilings. We painted those ceilings 4 times with that contractor. So that was just a good reminder for me for the future, you know. And so, yeah, they're like, Larry, what do you want to do? And so I like it that I get that pretty much. Here's the ball. It's on your court. How do you want to play it? How do you want to play this? You know, how do you want to run the play? I was like, all right, let me prime everything. Let me do this. Let me, you know. and then I'll come back for a final. And so it's worked out really, really, really smooth. And I appreciate all the general contractors out there that they're doing business with, and we've been working together just fine.
In terms of the long-term goal that you have for the company, when you're projecting out, where do you want to take this? What do you see in regards to, if I could have it, biggest, grandest dream, what does it look like?
So my big dream, I want to be able to laugh about like, hey, the big man, blessed me with 20K or 40K, job, that we did in a month. I want to be able to laugh at that number and say, look, we're doing big things. We're hitting $1 million this year or something like that, and then move into, all right, $1 million. Well, that was live. That was funny too. That was cute. I want to be able to grow my business to where I have the right people in the right places. Like, I have an estimator. I have my lead supervisors for each crew, and be able to grow it into something huge, whether it's track homes, commercial, tap into some government accounts. And I'm already in motion and looking into getting a DVE for that stuff. And so those are things, applications I need to get into.
DV?
A DVE. So it's a I forgot the acronym for D. It's basically, I need to look it up now. And so it's basically a small business, application through the city of Phoenix, and you can use it to apply for government contract jobs. Like you go out and paint the fence on the 101, or
really?
Yeah, or you can go paint the light rail stations, downtown, or do stuff like that. Government counts that I could say, I have 2 years worth of work for my guys, for these amounts of crews, where I'm not just trying to do repaints, and also have those repaints too. But also
just start to have divisions then.
Yeah, there's divisions. So I want to be able. My vision is residential repaints, new custom homes, going to have commercial, and track homes. Those are the 4 things that I'm envisioning for the company. I don't know if that's a 5-year or 10-year goal, but I need to sit down and really say, all right, we need to get that division by the end of this year. And those are things that I want to progress into, and I'm making some moves already to start looking into tapping those. Some things are roadblocks because I haven't been in business for the amount of time that they want and they require. So I'm like, all right, bet I'm gonna stay in business, and I'm gonna show you guys my numbers and our certifications. I'm gonna work on my certifications. So those are things that if I hadn't started looking, I don't know what goals to start those baby goals to get those to be able to apply, and be like, hey, can I get a chance? But I don't want to be word of mouth, man. I want to have my bald head on an advertising board and be the painter for the valley, So, and be able to, do something bigger than just the homes. And I'm grateful for what I'm doing. We're doing good, So far we've made $380,000 worth of revenue, and I'm not having hit a year yet. And so I think it's funny because I know there's more coming, God's going to bless us with more. And so, and that's one of the things like I learned at Entrepreneur Conference is like, don't settle, just go big, man. And so I'm like, okay, let's do it. Like I'm staying humble enough to say, you know what? Thank you. I'm happy for what I have, but I know there's more.
Yep.
And I feel like something's driving me to get that more.
Yeah.
Where is it at? Let me find it.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing you guys with me. Or maybe you guys are getting me there.
That's awesome. All right. Before we wind this thing down, we've got 5 quick questions for you.
Yep.
What's the most impactful thing you've learned?
Impactful thing that I've learned. I've learned that we have to be able to work with the people that you have first and be able to take care of them in order for that to transpire into just creating these beautiful projects for people throughout the valley. So what I've learned is take care of your people, make sure you're compensating them for the work, value their time, and at the end of the day, they're adults and talk to them like adults, and make sure that they understand that there's a fine line in compromising our work just because I just want to make a few bucks this day, and so that's one of the things I've learned. And being able to not give up on your dreams and not give up on knowing, hey, I left one career and I changed to another. Well, that's not the end of Larry. You know, that was a chapter in my life. This is my new chapter. Let's keep creating more and more beautiful sentences and paragraphs and you know, chapters. Yeah, there's times where you hit your lows, but you gotta remind yourself, hey, you know, this thing is gonna just blow up if you allow it to, and if you stay focused on your goals and make sure that if you did everything in your power back into that career to grow in your career, we'll transfer that to entrepreneurship, and you're gonna do great things. And you know, I look at a big vision for a company, but I know there's more stuff out there, you know, that I can invest in or, you know, grow in. So I'm not completely just focused on the painting industry. I'm looking at, hey, let's go get a KB license and see what I could do with a KB1 license. You know, we might build a freaking 26 story, you know, building. You just never know, man. I feel like we're very smart individuals, and I feel like we can do anything we put our mindset to, and that's the thing I've learned so far in being only in my first year in business. You know,
what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. Oh man, I'm a big movie guy, dude. It's so hard to pick, but I'm a huge Adam Sandler guy.
Oh really?
Yeah, I love his movies. So for comedy wise, Adam Sandler, I love Happy Gilmore. He's hilarious, and then away from Adam Sandler, I love Step Brothers.
Solid.
Yeah, those are hilarious.
Step Brothers, and then it's just I like feel good movies, man.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
Your first character strength that comes to mind?
I'm stubborn.
Best lunchtime restaurant in the Valley?
Chipotle's my life.
And then where can people follow you or get in contact with you?
Yeah, I'm mainly on Instagram. You can find me on Chavez Painting _AZ _LLC. I'm on there, and TikTok, Facebook. Phone number 602-247-0167. My website's on my bio on Instagram. And we just started some YouTube videos, so we'll see what happens.
Cool. And then we'll link all those things in the description for YouTube, Spotify, and everywhere it gets published. So
sounds great.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show.
All right.
Yep.
Appreciate you
Thanks,
having
man.
me. Nice meeting you.
Until next time, I hope your hammer stays accurate, your Wi-Fi fast, and your work blessed. See everybody.
Blah, blah. Yeah. Man, these things do sound like you're on a podcast.
I know, right?